And today, we finally have a ton of news about the DCU. It's been confirmed that the actor playing Clayface is Tom Reese, and there's a rumor about which version of Clayface will be in the movie. Plus, a new animated series announced by DC Studios. On top of that, James Gunn did some interviews with Rolling Stone and engaged with fans on social media, so of course, that comes with a flood of updates. We're talking good stuff here. Gunn has shared a lot about Batman in the DCU, his significance, white lenses, and what to expect from Batman and Wonder Woman in the DCU. Anyway, there's so much to cover from the last few days, so stick around and let's dive into everything happening at DC Studios.
Starting with Clayface, Deadline dropped the news confirming that Tom Reese will be playing Clayface. James Gunn himself confirmed this on his social media, saying, "After a long and incredibly exhaustive search, we finally have our DCU Clayface in Tom Reese. Both Matt Reeves and I were just blown away by this guy and can't wait for you to see this film, directed by James Watkins and written by Mike Flanagan." On social media, a lot of fans were hoping to see Jack O'Connell as Clayface, but Matt Reeves and James Gunn went with Tom Reese. If you're wondering what Matt Reeves has to do with the Clayface movie, the answer is that he's basically producing everything related to Batman within DC Studios. Aside from his Batman epic crime saga with the Batman and the Penguin, he's also producer on Batman Caped Crusader and the upcoming animation Dynamic Duo, as well as Clayface. This pretty much means he'll likely be involved in all things Batman at DC Studios, so I don't think it's far-fetched for him to also produce Batman Brave and the Bold alongside James Gunn and Peter Safran. As for the actor chosen to play Clayface, I trust James Gunn and Matt Reeves' choice. They have a great track record for picking good actors, so I believe Tom Reese will do a solid job. Alright, but which version of Clayface will we see in this film? Well, while Basil Karlo is the most recognized and used today in comics, back in the Golden Age, he wasn't the mud monster we all know. There are several Clayfaces in the comics, but the first Clayface to actually have powers was Matt Hagen, who in the comics was a thief who stumbled upon a magical muck and fell into it. As a result, he could transform his body. Basil Karlo, the original Clayface, was just a horror movie actor who went crazy and became a serial killer. Batman the Animated Series combined these two concepts, making Matt Hagen an actor with Clayface's powers, creating the animated version of Clayface. But why am I mentioning Batman the Animated Series now? Well, I brought it up because Mike Flanagan, who wrote the screenplay for the Clayface movie, revealed he based his script on the 2 origin episodes of Clayface from Batman the Animated Series, Feet of Clay Parts 1 and 2. So it seems he'll be an actor and go through his transition into possibly the Clayface we saw in Creature Commandos. This notion that the movie's Clayface will be Matt Hagen hasn't been confirmed by James Gunn yet, but it was mentioned by an insider from The Wrap, Humberto Gonzalez. Furthermore, we recently got news from The Wrap that the Clayface script was being rewritten, and they even asked James Gunn if these changes would be significant or if much of Mike Flanagan's ideas would remain. Gunn responded that any alterations would be minimal. They're gonna tell the story Mike Flanagan wrote. They also asked Gunn if there was some kind of agreement between him and Matt Reeves where he wouldn't use the same villains. And Gunn said no, noting that both the Crime Saga and the DCU are part of DC Studios, so they take everything into account, but there's no hard and fast rule. Just to give you some context, back in the 2000s, there was a rule put in place by an editor at DC that said Batman villains shouldn't be reused in different Batman productions. If one animation was using a specific villain, another couldn't use that same villain. So if there was worry before about characters appearing in the DCU also appearing in the Batman, those concerns are gone now. There are no more restrictions.
And yet another animated series was confirmed by DC Studios, and folks, we've got a major announcement because it's confirmed that Mr. Miracle will be getting an animated series. The animation will adapt the comics written by Tom King and illustrated by Mitch Gerads, which even won the Eisner Award for Best Limited Series. So we're talking about a grand story here. The good news doesn't stop there, as it was also confirmed that the showrunner for this series will be none other than Tom King himself. He's a busy writer in the DCU. He's one of the writers for Lanterns, the Supergirl movie is inspired by the comic he wrote, and now we'll also have Mr. Miracle in animation. The synopsis reads, the new series follows Scott Free, the world's greatest escape artist, known to the world as Mr. Miracle, whose perfect life with his warrior wife Big Barda falls apart when their two homeworlds, Apocalypse and Eugenesis, go to war, and Scott's cruel adopted father, Darkseid, appears to have captured the ultimate weapon, the anti-life equation that will give him total dominance over the universe. As the mountains of bodies on both sides grow ever higher, only Mr. Miracle can stop the slaughter and restore peace. But the terrible power of the anti-life equation may already be at work in his own mind, warping his reality, exposing his long-buried pain, and shattering the fragile happiness he's found with the woman he loves. This is some big news, and if you don't know this story, I highly recommend checking it out. Mr. Miracle is a fantastic work.
Now shifting gears to James Gunn's statements, there's been some buzz recently with a portion of Zack Snyder fans creating a campaign against James Gunn's Superman movie. Someone brought that up to Gunn on social media to alert him about these haters, and the co-CEO of DC Studios replied, "I think we will survive. I'm not sure the 8 people that listen to that guy, I'm gonna go out on a limb and guess it's a guy, are going to impact the course of events." Of course, not all of Snyder's fandom acts this way. There are fans of Snyder's work who hope to see more of his vision with DC characters, but they're not toxic fans. Many actually want to see this new direction from James Gunn. But a portion of the fandom really is unbearable and wants nothing more than to see the new film fail so Warner can rethink bringing back the Snyderverse. But folks, that's just not happening. The old DC cinematic universe was a mess. It started off wrong and had no way to fix it. It needed a reboot. But moving on with Gunn's comments, he spoke a bit more about these haters in his Rolling Stone interview, where he said, "I don't mind it. I think it's good. I think you don't want to have everybody rooting for you. And I have an actor who reads everything online. I won't say who it is, but it's one of the top 5 in Superman. And this actor gets so upset over things that people say. I said, first of all, you realize that the trailer came out and the reaction was 97 and 98% positive. These people help us because you don't want everything to seem 100% positive. It's alright to have an opposing force every once in a while. Some of the things get ridiculous. I just know that every time something comes out, it doesn't matter how positively received, there's going to be something that creates great controversy. It was a big controversy that the sun caused Superman pain. Additionally, while commenting on Zack Snyder, James Gunn revealed that he consulted Snyder about whether Superman should have trunks or not. He said, one of the biggest questions was, were we going to have trunks or were we not going to have trunks? I talked to Zack Snyder, who was like, I tried a billion different versions with the trunks. And at the end of the day, I tried it, but I just couldn't get there. And I was feeling exactly the same way. Theoretically, I like the idea of trunks because it's the Superman I grew up with. The director also pointed out that it was David Cornsweet who convinced him that Superman should have trunks over his pants. So that's it, folks. There's no rivalry between the two directors. James Gunn even drew inspiration from Snyder's work for the action scenes of Superman. There really is no beef there, just between fandoms. Now, let's stop talking about fandom drama and get back to the updates because James Gunn dropped a lot of news in an interview with Rolling Stone. The title of the Supergirl movie has been changed. Instead of being called Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, the movie is now simply titled just Supergirl. That change is similar to what happened with Superman, which went from Superman Legacy to just Superman. It's simpler and easier to identify. The director also mentioned he's tired of superhero movie titles with colons and then another name, explaining why Superman isn't called Superman Legacy anymore. I'm sick of the superhero title, other name thing, and it also seemed to look back when we're looking forward, even though it does relate to Legacy in the movie itself. And everybody was like, oh yeah, no, change it. Now back to the Batman. The interviewer asked Gunn if at any point he considered Robert Pattinson's Batman to be part of the DCU, especially since Gunn previously said that the choice to separate the universes was Matt Reeves'. Gunn responded, it'd be a consideration. We'd have to think about it. It's not like we've never discussed it. The interviewer pressed, I really should clear this up. Is there still a non-zero chance that Matt Reeves' Batman will get sucked into your universe? And after a long pause, Gunn replied, I would never say zero, because you just never know. But it's not likely. It's not likely at all. I'll also say Batman Part 2 is not canceled. That's the other thing I hear all the time, that Batman Part 2 is canceled. It's not canceled. We don't have a script. Matt's slow. Let him take his time. Let him do what he's doing. God, people are mean. Let him do his thing, man. At this point, we see Gunn initially leaving things open-ended, then clarifying himself, and he seems a bit frustrated because let's face it, he practically has to debunk rumors every week that Robert Pattinson's Batman is coming into the DCU or that it's getting canceled. But for anyone still clinging to those rumors, Batman Part 2 is not canceled, and this Batman won't be part of the DCU. We've already had a series of videos discussing this here on the channel, but this topic keeps cropping up on social media. I think as long as the DCU's Batman isn't cast, those rumors will persist, unfortunately. Now, we come to the part where Gunn talks about the DCU Batman. The co-CEO of DC Studios revealed that Batman and Wonder Woman are currently the priorities for DC Studios, and he also talked a bit about the challenge of doing Batman in this universe, given that he's been explored so many times in the past, and many of his stories have already been told. When asked if he's writing the Batman film, Gunn said, "Batman's my biggest issue in all of DC right now, personally. I'm not writing Batman, but I am working with the writer of Batman and trying to get it right, because he's incredibly important to DC, as is Wonder Woman. So outside of what I'm doing in the projects that are actively going on, our two priorities are finishing our Wonder Woman and our Batman scripts." Regarding the Batman movie, the interviewer asked if the title is still The Brave and the Bold, and Gunn responded, "Right now, yeah, right now."
Additionally, Gunn emphasized Batman has to have a reason for existing, right? So Batman can't just be, oh, we're making a Batman movie because Batman's the biggest character in all of Warner Bros., which he is, but because there's a need for him in the DCU and a need that he's not exactly the same as Matt's Batman. But yet he's not a campy Batman. I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in a funny, campy Batman. Really, so we're dealing with that. I think I have a way in, by the way. I think I really know what it's... I just am dealing with the writer to make sure that we can make it a reality. Gunn also commented on Wonder Woman, saying, "Similar. Wonder Woman, I think, is actually easier for me because there having been so many infinite portrayals of Wonder Woman. Definitely not in movies, but really anywhere that there have been of Batman. Every single Batman story has been told. It seems like half the comics that have come out of DC over the past 30 years have Batman in them. He's the most famous and popular superhero in the world. And people love him because he's interesting, but also having so much of him out there can make him boring. So how do you create that property that's fun to watch?" Adding to what he said, Gunn also revealed his favorite Batman comics, saying, "So many. Morrison's run, Long Halloween, Dark Knight Returns, of course, Court of Owls. We have some great insights here, and those Batman comics are truly fantastic." Morrison's run on Batman is undoubtedly unique in the context of comic writing. It's the period where Morrison blended the sci-fi elements from the Silver Age of the 60s with a darker, more realistic take that has defined Batman comics since The Dark Knight Returns. Morrison's entire run is incredible. Also, The Dark Knight Returns is a groundbreaking comic when it comes to comics. It's the work that changed Batman's status quo and also influenced many other comics, not just from DC but from Marvel as well, to present their characters in a darker, more realistic light. So how can we not mention that comic? Meanwhile, The Long Halloween and The Court of Owls are other stories that hold a lot of importance for the character. The Long Halloween is one of the best Batman comics involving investigation and mystery. It was in this story that we saw Gotham attacked not just by common criminals, but also by the insane, those villains we all know today. The Court of Owls makes sense on Gunn's list too. The concept created around the court is really good. The idea of having a conspiracy behind everything happening in Gotham City is intriguing and resonated well with comic readers. The court was so successful that it has appeared in other media, like series, games, and animations, making it an innovative element in Batman's universe. Sure, the ending of that saga in the comics isn't great, but the introduction of the court and Batman's struggle against them while getting trapped in their labyrinth is very well done. So I like all those stories Gunn mentioned, and with this, we get a sense of what to expect from the DCU Batman. It's not the first time Gunn mentions Batman comics that he considers his favorites. In the past, besides these, he mentioned Batman One Bad Day the Riddler as one of his favorite comics. This comic, focused on the Riddler, is awesome, and even though it's pretty recent, it quickly became a classic for Batman due to its quality. And guess what? It was created by Tom King and Mitch Gerrits, the same artist behind the Mr. Miracle comic from 2017, which, just like One Bad Day the Riddler, also won an Eisner Award. One thing's for sure. The Batman of the DCU will have a strong inspiration from Grant Morrison's Batman, and that's fantastic news.
In my opinion, aside from the comics, which are the original and main medium for the character, I think James Gunn could draw a lot from Batman the Animated Series to shape Batman in the DCU, but not the Batman from the new Batman Adventures. I'm talking about the Batman from the early seasons of the animated series. That's the perfect balance of a Batman that feels realistic, while still embracing the more fantastical side. Not to mention, the Batman from that period of the animated series had a much more balanced tone. Being that serious guy who struggles with his rage while also sharing lighter moments with Alfred and Robin.
My heavens, you mean it wasn't you tossing guards out of windows last night?
I only toss butlers, Alfred.
You see various instances of him being a bit more laid back, which would fit well with Gunn's aim for a Batman who's not campy or overly jokey, but still showcases multiple unexplored facets in live action.
It's been 4 hours. You still think they'll show? Lucky for me, you're such a good conversationalist.
You know, this Batman from the early seasons of the animated series had some dark humor moments that, in my opinion, totally fit with James Gunn, and yet it doesn't make this Batman a funny guy. So, in my opinion, the Batman from the animated series, specifically the early seasons, is the most ideal Batman for the DCU, more so than the Batman from the Brave and the Bold animation.
Batman! You wouldn't let me fry, would you? Batman!
Matt Reeves already brought some of the animated series influence into the Batman. Even Robert Pattinson mentioned the Mask of the Phantasm in past interviews. But the director didn't dive deeply enough into the animated series for his Batman. So there's an opportunity right there. I've seen people saying that the Batman from the Arkham games would be perfect to adapt for the DCU, but I don't think he's as balanced in his psyche as the one from the animated series. The Batman from the Arkham games is way more intense and serious than the one from the animated series. The only thing I think could serve as a basis for the DCU involving the Arkham games is the Batman suit from Arkham Asylum and Arkham City. Those designs give a good idea for a uniform instead of an armor, which would make a significant difference from Robert Pattinson's Batman. Now, moving on to Wonder Woman, the thing about all this related to James Gunn's comments involves Wonder Woman. Gunn said that introducing Wonder Woman will be less challenging than bringing Batman into the DCU, but I don't see it being that simple, although I get his perspective from that statement. The Wonder Woman fandom is pretty demanding. Any little thing out of line can spark a ton of criticism, so there will definitely be a need for careful crafting when making her movie. A great example of the backlash is Cersei in Creature Commandos. She was toned down in the animation, got beaten by Weasel, and then disappeared halfway through the season, which definitely drew a lot of criticism, especially from Wonder Woman fans. Still, I remain hopeful they'll put out a good origin movie for the character, and it would be awesome if they stick to the classic origin from the 80s, unlike Gal Gadot's film, which leaned a lot on the New 52. As for Batman, Gunn reiterated that he's working on his next film, but it's not Batman. Regarding that, I think, okay, fine that you're not writing Brave and the Bold, but that doesn't mean you're not writing Batman and Superman. I think there's still hope he's working on the scripts for World's Finest. On the topic of the title changes happening for both Superman and Supergirl, I think it's inevitable that Brave and the Bold will also change its title. It won't just be Batman, because Matt Reeves has the Batman, but I wouldn't rule out a Batman and Robin. I wonder if James Gunn will have the guts to call the DCU Batman movie Batman and Robin, despite the terrible 90s movie. We'll have to wait for more news to find out. Now, regarding some responses Gunn gave to people on his threads, we got the following. About the rumor regarding the Teen Titans casting announcement happening this fall, Gunn denied that rumor. About the Waller series, there was a rumor it was being reshaped to be Checkmate, and Gunn also denied that, calling it complete nonsense. As for the Batman Part 2, there was even a rumor reported by big sites that Matt Reeves would deliver the script to Gunn on Memorial Day, but Gunn said that was also not true, and they weren't even expecting that. They also asked about Batman having white lenses in the DCU, and Gunn said he found it confusing how many people have strong feelings about the white eyes one way or the other. Plus, Gunn mentioned that characters might change their outfits from one movie to the next. He also stated that he can weigh in on costume choices in DCU films if they're really out there. So regarding these declarations, the rumor involving Titans really was pretty strange. I even talked about that rumor in a previous video. We don't have a director confirmed or a finished script, so it just doesn't make sense. As for Waller, that rumor didn't gain much traction when it came out. I didn't even get a chance to comment on it. But his comments about costumes in the DCU suggest that even though Gunn said in the past he'd give directors and writers freedom, you can't really make a 100% auteur film in a shared universe. That just can't happen. As for Batman having white lenses, it's almost as hot a debate as the trunks over the pants conversation. Honestly, in live action, I'd love to see Batman with white lenses, but I think it works better in specific moments of the film, not throughout the entire movie. An example from the Arkham series in the games is that Batman doesn't have white lenses except when he's in detective mode, so that could be a cool technique. Wow, there's been so much news, but now I want to know your thoughts. On all this, how do you think Wonder Woman's movie will turn out? Do you want Batman with or without white lenses? Are you excited for Mr. Miracle, and did you like the casting of Tom Rice for Clayface? Please drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't leave without hitting that like button on this video, subscribing to the channel, and turning on notifications, because that's the only way you'll stay updated on every DC news. This is the best place for you to stay informed. Thanks a lot for being here in this video. I'm going to leave you with 2 video recommendations. First, a mega in-depth analysis of the latest Superman trailer, where I also talk about the CGI of the movie. Was it good or not? Check that out. Also, I'll recommend the Batman Year One full story. It's a complete video about the entire comic story, perfect for anyone who doesn't know Batman's origin. Once again, thanks a bunch. Catch you next time.